Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the annual meeting of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative. It's good to be back, somewhat back, after this past year and a half. We also welcome those who have chosen to attend virtually. Safety is and always will be one of our primary concerns. Most years we start planning for the annual meeting on the day after the previous meeting, following the worldwide coronavirus pandemic. No one was really sure how or where we would be meeting this year. Meeting cooperative bylaws and publication deadlines dictate the timing of many decisions. We were surely glad to see Governor Abbott lessen some of the restrictions on such a meeting to make this possible tonight. We make every effort to control costs without limiting the quality of service. As directors, we are pleased to hear the monthly reports that your staff is making decisions based on what is best for a majority of the members. We also know that sometimes old-fashioned member services are the answer. That's why when you call, you will always talk with one of our friendly member service representatives when you call the office for assistance. I appreciate that. That's the thanks should go to our staff and the entire crew around here. These employees answer about 500 calls per day. Due to efficient operations, your cooperative is financially strong and doing very well. We have returned more than 34 million to the members in recent years, and we are pleased to report that another 4 million will be returned in this year, 21. Please look for these checks to be mailed before Christmas. Later in the meeting, our manager, David McInnes, will provide some details on our response to the coronavirus pandemic and coronavirus, and Winter Storm Uri. In closing, you are the owners of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative, and we are here to serve you. To move along, I'll officially call the 2021 annual meeting of the members of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative to order and call on Secretary Treasurer Steve Robinson to present the reports of the cooperative.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. I've got some things that I've got a few business items to present tonight, and thank you for coming tonight. It's good to be back finally, and I thank you for listening patiently to these formalities. Please note that I have copies of all these reports on hand, and I will be available after the meeting to share them with anyone that is interested. Okay, the first one is to notice the annual meeting of members. The annual meeting of the members of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative, Inc. will be both online and in person at Panther Stadium on the campus of Van Alstyne High School, 1722 North Waco, Van Alstyne, Texas, 75495. A recorded copy of the annual meeting and annual report will be posted on the cooperative website, the cooperative YouTube channel, and Facebook on or about the day following the annual meeting. The live feed of the in-person annual meeting and annual reports will be available on the cooperative Facebook at approximately 8 p.m. on Monday, July the 19th, to report on the following matters: the reports of officers, directors, and committees, and the election of 2 directors for 3-year terms. Pursuant to the authority delegated to the Committee on Nominations by the Board of Directors of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative, The committee shall nominate one or more, as the judgment of the committee may direct, members as nominees for the director of the districts to be elected at the annual meeting. And after such selection or nomination, shall post a list of said nominees in the principal offices of the cooperative at least 30 days before the meeting at which time the directors are to be elected. Any 15 or more members may make other or additional nominations in writing or their signatures no less than 25 days prior to said meeting, which nominations shall be placed where the committee nominations are posted. The directors to be elected on July the 19th, 2021 at the annual meeting of the members are District 3, Charles Rice, the incumbent, and District 4, Steve Robinson, the incumbent. The cooperative has prepared ballots to be mailed to each member no later than July the 1st, 2021. The ballot presents your authority as a member of the cooperative and should be returned via the enclosed postage paid envelope. The next item is a certificate of mailing. The second official item to be presented is a proof of mailing of the aforeread notice of the annual meeting of the members of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative and 2020 annual report. There were 53,163 copies of the 2020 annual report mailed to the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative via the July 2021 issue of the Texas Co-op Power magazine, produced by Texas Electric Cooperatives in Alstyne, Texas. There were also 53,906 ballots for the election of directors mailed to the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative in a direct mailing from the National Information Solutions Cooperative in Lake St. Louis, Missouri. A certification of each mailing has been reviewed by the cooperative staff and the board of directors. The next thing is a certification of a quorum. Section 2.4 of the bylaws of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative defines a quorum as 2% of the total members of the cooperative. 1,078 members or 2% of 53,906 total members of the cooperative. The board now confirm and certify that a quorum of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative returned ballots in the election of directors, thereby constituting a quorum of members for this annual meeting. The last item I will read are the minutes from the 2020 annual meeting of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative, Inc., which was unusual because it was virtual. I'm sure you all joined us online to watch this as we had it prepared. Anyway, here it goes. The annual meeting of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative was held virtually online from the offices of the cooperative, 14568 FM 121 Van Alstyne, Texas, at approximately 8 p.m. on Monday, July the 20th, 2020. The meeting was called to order by President Charles Rice, who presided over the meeting. Secretary Treasurer Steve Robinson acted as secretary of the meeting and kept the minutes thereof. Mr. Robinson presented the reports of the Secretary Treasurer and began said reports with the reading of the notice of the annual meeting of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative. Secretary Treasurer Robinson then provided proof of mailing of the 2020 notice of the annual meeting and the 2019 annual report to 48,470 members of the cooperative, and offered that a copy of said certification of mailing is on file at the cooperative so that anyone who wished to review it. In verification of a quorum, the board found that 13,105 members have returned ballots via U.S. mail on or before July the 17th, 2020, thereby participating in cooperative principles of democratic member control by voting in the director election. This constitutes about 875 pages of names. And if anyone wants to see them, I also have that here for your review. The minutes of the 2019 annual meeting of the members held on July the 15th, 2019 were read by Secretary Treasurer Robinson. Mr. Robinson ordered that these reports of the Secretary Treasurer consisted of the notice of the 2020 annual meeting, the affidavit of publication and mailing, and the 2019 minutes were ordered to be filed in the records of the cooperative. President Rice then began the report of director elections by introducing a prepared video of David McGinnis providing the report of the Committee on Nominations and the results of the election of directors for District 2 and District 5. The report on the committee of nominations stated that Jim Copeland had been nominated as candidate for District 2 and Paul Kirkland had been nominated as candidate for District 5. Mr. McGinnis added that in accordance with the bylaws of the cooperative, the nomination had been posted at the cooperative and any additional nominations could have been made by petition with at least 15 member signatures, but no additional nominations had been received by the cooperative. Mr. McGinnis announced that the nominations had closed and ballots had been mailed to all the members of the cooperative. Although the candidates were unopposed, the cooperative had received 13,105 ballots, and Mr. McGinnis declared Jim Copeland and Paul Kirkland as directors elected for 3-year terms respectively. Mr. McGinnis concluded his report by ordering that the report of the Committee of Nominations be filed in the records of the cooperative. President Rice then called on General Manager, CEO David McGinnis to present the 2019 annual report on operations, including an audit report prepared by the independent firm of Bollinger, Seegers, Gilbert, and Moss, LLP. Mr. Rice ordered that the 2019 report on operations were to be filed in the records of the cooperative. There being no further business to come before the members, President Rice thanked the members for their virtual participation and adjourned the 2020 annual meeting of the members of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative. Mr. Rice, this concludes my reports.
You have heard the reading of the minutes of last year's annual meeting. You know, there weren't many of us there. I would welcome a voice of approval for that. Is there a motion to that effect? We have a motion? Yeah, we got a motion. And let's need a second. Oh, we got lots of seconds. All in favor, please signify with a show of hands. Sam Rayburn will say the ayes have it. Okay, thank you.
At this time, we'll invite Bobby Massey as the chair of the Committee on Nominations to present the election report.
All right, I got a few things to read, and I hate reading this part of it because there's lawyer lingo in here. May 15th, 2021, pursuant to the authority delegated to the Committee on Nominations on the Board of the Directors of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative, we have this day nominated the following members of the cooperative for directors to be elected at the annual meetings to be held on July 19th, 2021. District 3, Charles Rice. District 4, Steve Robinson. Submitted by Robert Massey, Chair of the Committee of Nominations, composed of Sherry Reynolds, Leanne Paulson, Robert Massey, Joe Merritt, and Sandy Bedell. Identified as this reported to the Committee of Nominations, presented to and read at the annual meeting of the members of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative Incorporated held on July 19, 2021, respectfully, Robert Massey. In accordance with the bylaws, this report was posted in the offices of the Cooperative of Nominations and officially closed 25 days prior to this annual meeting. And the official ballots were mailed to the members of the Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative based upon the ballots returned to the cooperative by July 16, 2021. I now declare that Charles Rice has been elected as Director of District 3 and Steve Robinson has been elected as Director of District 4 in these 3-year terms respectively. This concludes the report of Committee of Nominations and Election of Directors. I thank you for your participation in choosing me representatives in the boardroom. Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Bobby Massey. Next we have on our program tonight is report on operations by yours and our manager, David McGinnis. He will talk on several things, and he'll touch on this virus that we have had in this past year and a half, as well as this terrible, I'd say, confusion down in Alstyne about the things that have happened with our governing bodies. I better hush and let him take over.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. And thank y'all. Good evening. I had joked around that I was going to play the theme song for Welcome Back, Kotter just as I started, but I was afraid it would date me. And not enough people would remember what it was. But after the weirdness, and that's what I'm going to call it, the weirdness of the last 18 to 20 months, it's good to see y'all. And so I'm going to cover some topics, just like Mr. Rice said, but I'm going to try to be brief because I stand between you and the table to my left. So as I prepare these each year, I kind of think, what if I were on the other side of the track? What would I want to hear and what would keep my attention? And the main thing that I come back to almost every year since 1998, and I thank you for letting me serve for that long, is that we have one mission: provide the very best service possible at the least cost possible. And that's all we do from daylight to dark. Right now it's 6 to 3 because we're letting the guys get out a little early for the heat. And I'll tell you, we won't always have the best service. We make our mistakes. We have outages. And we won't always be the lowest cost. But we are providing at the lowest cost possible. And we do that very efficiently. When we're surveyed, out of 900 co-ops, we're in the most efficient 5% in operations cost per member annually. I keep looking at my notes. I could probably do this because we have lived together for almost 24 months. But as your manager, I have the pleasure of working with a very dedicated group of coworkers. They're actually more like family than anything else you could call us. We also have the pleasure of serving one of the best, if not the best, boards in the nation. And I'm going to introduce them. Mr. Charlie Rice is our president. Mr. Paul Kirkland is our vice president. Mr. Steve Robinson is our secretary-treasurer. Mr. Jim Copeland is our director from the Whitesboro Sherman area. And our newest director is Mr. David Ellis out of Tom Bean. And I forgot to bring something with me. At this point, we would like to honor our retiring director, Mr. Ray Houston. Eddie, I may switch mics, but I'm going to go as long as I can. Maybe if I stand still, it won't rub. So as Ray comes, Ray retired December the 31st. This is the resolution passed in the last month's board meeting. Whereas Ray Houston of Bells, Texas, served on the board of directors of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative in a dedicated and exemplary manner. And whereas Ray Houston was noted for giving his time freely and unselfishly, and for always having a kind and compassionate word for everyone. And whereas the board of directors of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative desires to convey to the entire Houston family their deep appreciation and respect for the life and influence of Ray Houston. Now therefore be it resolved that the board of directors of Grayson-Collin Electric do hereby thank Ray, Shirley, and the entire Houston family for their time and dedication given by Ray to the work of Grayson-Collin Electric Cooperative and Rayburn Country Electric Cooperative your community, and your state. So I also have the pleasure of getting a lot of support at home because I spend more hours with this group than I do with that group, oftentimes. But we'd also not be as successful without our vendors and our partners, such as Jeff Denham with Vaquero Underground. John Ed Shimpaw is the general manager of Fannin County Electric Co-op. David Naylor is our president of Rayburn Country Electric Co-op. Michael Waldrop runs our Techline warehouse here in Van Alstyne. Mr. John Kirkland is the retired general manager and president of Rayburn. Dr. David Brown is the superintendent of Van Alstyne High School and helped get us here. Not Van Alstyne High School, Van Alstyne ISD. And Mr. Stephen Johnson is the managing partner at Techline, one of our best vendors that saves that relationship over the years has saved us about $1 million a year in material and labor. The last thing I want to do is thank y'all. Without y'all, there wouldn't be a Grayson-Collin Electric Co-op, and we know that. And so I'm going to go back 24 months, and don't think I'm going to cover every day. But we walked out of this stadium 24 months ago in a roll. We thought life was good. We were one of the fastest growing co-ops in the nation for the last 10 years. Keep in mind, we serve from Parker Road to the Red River and the lake. So we know a little bit about growth. We cruised into 2020 feeling really good. Financials were good. We reported that in 2019. We were being recognized in March for over 1 million man hours with no lost time in the 9th most dangerous business in the world, being a power lineman. But before we could finish that conference, the world came to a screeching snail's pace. I won't say a stop. But the conference was ended abruptly, and we saw businesses from Van Alstyne to Washington to New York to LA close. For the rest of 2020, while many businesses closed and had most of their employees working from home, we were not afforded that luxury. We have a very physical, very demanding job, and I've not yet seen a computer climb a pole. I've not yet seen a computer refuse a cutout when the squirrel gets in the wrong place. We have to work for you. So we operated as if nothing was going on in the world. With 53,000, and if you noticed in the minutes from 2019, we mailed out 48,000 ballots. This year we mailed out 53,000. That's a 5,000 member increase. And I am familiar with a co-op in West Texas that they added 5 meters last year. Okay, so it's quite a bit different. But for the rest of 2020, we made a few adjustments, such as we cleaned and we scrubbed everything from doorknobs to pencils to trucks to tools to try to keep your employees healthy. Because we believed it was our job to be here for you. Our belief is, without electricity, no other essential business gets done. And boy, did we find that out in February. So as we went through this, I want to tell you, I was feeling pretty good leaving 2020. Our revenue was down by about $11 million last year. Some of that could be attributed to fewer businesses open. Some of it can be attributed to different weather. But fortunately, our expenses were also down by that same $11 million, so we did okay. That left us $5 million at the end of the year. And so I'm pretty proud of this group of employees. They're hanging on the fence because I told them I'm going to beat up ERCOT in a minute. But if you look down that row, they were here. I've not ever been whistled at. Thank you. All right, so we're feeling pretty good. We were starting to see a downtrend in the virus, whatever. Excuse me. That thing is popping in my ear.
Turn it on.
Yeah. All right. That was popping in my ear, and I was hoping y'all weren't hearing that. But we were feeling pretty good until February. In February, we were watching the forecast, and we started around the 1st, maybe the 31st of January, we started making preparations for what they were talking about was going to be the coldest weather since I was in high school in 1983. And for those of you that remember 1983, it was so cold pipes froze under the streets of Houston. What we saw in February was the coldest since then. Some of the older, I learned a new term, more seasoned of my friends said 49 was a little colder than 83. I wasn't here in 1949. But we went around, we changed breaker settings, we bypassed breakers, we solidify our line, we do a lot of work. We went and bought every gallon of diesel additive that makes it not gel when it gets cold that we could find. We were ready. And I will tell you, on February the 12th, the Friday before, we had a plan. That plan was to be here. We also, just to let you know, our power supply Rayburn had 95% of our power needs taken care of. No problem. We're looking good. The COO, Bruce Stevens, and I decided we will have everybody come back in, regardless of what's going on, at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. Get through Valentine's Day, spend it with your family, and then we're going to bring you in before the ice starts. We wanted them at the co-op so they weren't rushing to get to the co-op so they could rush to get to wherever the outages were. And we did. We had a few outages. We had a few fuses overloaded. We had a couple of transformers fail. And we were doing okay. Our manager of communications and I were sitting in my office watching the prices. We were doing okay. Came 11 o'clock. We said, let's go home. There's no need in keeping these guys and these ladies that had come in to answer the phone if we're not going to have any outages. Let's be back at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that was at 11 p.m. And so at 12, I live 5 miles east of town, 10-minute commute. At 12, I had brushed my teeth. I'd been gone since 6 o'clock because Bruce and I actually got up and we were there all day. We'd been gone. I showered and got in bed, and the phone rang. Honestly, I had not even closed my eyes. ERCOT has what they call an energy emergency alert, which we call an EEA, and they had sent out an EEA-1 to our dispatcher. He's 25, 26 years old, and he panicked. What do I do? I said, don't worry about it, we're coming in. Before I could get dressed, I put on socks, jeans, whatever. We were at EEA-2. EEA-2 means the reserves of generation had dropped to less than 5% ish of what was needed to cover the demand. Again, remember, I live 5 miles east of town. It's a 10-mile commute to the co-op at best. I made a cup of coffee. It was cold. Okay? I got in the truck. Bruce and I were talking on the radio. We both got EEA 3. What EEA 3 means is we have to start turning people off. Prior to that event, I'm going to say 95% of you had never ever heard of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. It was formed in 1970 by all of the power companies to help us manage power flow. That's back before deregulation, back before customer choice, when everybody took care of themselves. But if we needed a little, and TP&L had a little left over, you go through ERCOT, and they would help get it moved. I call them traffic cops or referees, and that's really what they were. But they failed from an event that happened twice in my career. And I've been a co-op employee since 1985. My dad worked for a co-op. I'm second generation, and I'm raising some third generation co-op kids. I had never heard of load shedding until 2003. And we did it in August, and it lasted about 2 hours. People were upset, but it went away. We did it again in February the 3rd of 2011, and it lasted 5 or 6 hours. Power plants froze. A lot of legislation went down that year. Legislature meets on odd years. Maybe that's because they're odd people. I don't know. But they meet on odd years, and they try to make things better. They passed a lot of rules that got blatantly and illegally and illicitly, whatever term you want to use, ignored. So when the weather got low and gas was curtailed, power plants failed. I'm going to quit using this. I've lost my place, so I'm not going to use it. So, you'd never heard of ERCOT before that. But in the time it took Bruce and I to get there, he lives in Howe, I live east of Van Alstyne. We normally get to work about the same time every day, it's 10 minutes. It had gone from an EEA 3 1000, that means shed 1,000 megawatts statewide, to an EEA 2000, 3000, 4000. And we get the question, as soon as we start to roll outages, why didn't you tell us? We didn't know. We did our job. I'm convinced they did their job. We sent them home. So, we knew in a matter of 30 minutes what we had to do. And it got magnified by 3 times before we could get in the building. If you do not start load shedding within 30 minutes, ERCOT fines you for not following the rules. Isn't that ironic? Knowing what I know now, I may not follow them. I can't say that out loud, so we will follow the rules. But you really kind of wonder, if they didn't have to winterize, why do we have to shed load because they were incompetent? But we did it because we were ordered to. I will tell you, in the later days, we found out, had we not complied, the state was within 5 minutes of probably a total blackout because of the magnitude of the failures of the generators. Okay, but we complied. So let's talk a little bit about rolling outages. A rolling outage means that I turn this group off for 15 to 30 minutes. Then we go over and turn this group off for 15 to 30 minutes and let them come back on for a while. And you rotate through the system. When it's 1, 2, 3,000 megawatts statewide, no problem. When it gets to 20,000 megawatts, problem. That means half of our system has to be cut off. Group A, 15, 20 minutes. Group B, 15, 20 minutes. The question was, why can't we have it on longer? Because if this group has it on longer, this group has it off longer. And what we have is, under those conditions is what we call cold load pickup. Everybody's house gets cold and everything comes on at once. Demand actually goes up and it will cause the breakers to trip. If you live anywhere on our system and you've seen the blinks that are momentary, that's some kind of blink. That means we've got a problem, and we were going to have that if we did longer than 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, what we found out in later times is that some of the investor-owned, I will not name them, testified that they quit rolling at 2 a.m. on the 15th, 2 hours into the event, because they were afraid if they turned anybody else on, they were going to knock their whole system off. So they left many homes, including my daughter who lives on the west side of Fort Worth, off for 72 to 96 hours at a time. Those are the ones you're hearing about in the news. Okay, so we complied. We did what we were asked. We did as much rolling as we can because 25% of our system is designated for under frequency control. And what that means is the alternating current, AC, should change from positive to negative 60 times a second. If it drops to 59.3 times a second, our under frequency relay feeders will turn off automatically to try to avoid a system blackout. You cannot load shed with those. So I was visiting with a member from Eagle Point Road. He said, I never was out. I said, that's because on a hot August day, you're probably going to be the first one to go out. That's normally when you have under frequency, is you get out of balance with the load and the demand. All right, so we complied. We did what we could. And then for some reason, the Public Utility Commission illegally, artificially set the price at the maximum allowed by law as a floor instead of a cap, and left it that way because they did not understand their jobs. They assumed that the generators were off because they couldn't make enough money. They were off because they couldn't get enough gas. And when they couldn't get enough gas, the water that normally cools them started to freeze. It was not a financial problem. But the three commissioners set that price, and they thought they were Ronco, and they set it and they forget it. For more than 96 hours, 32 of those hours beyond what ERCOT was asking for load shed. And if that's not illegal and illegitimate and artificial, I don't know the definition of those three words. And I'm not going to belabor this because I'm going to guess y'all have questions. But I'm going to leave you with this. Our guys did their job. Our ladies answered 24,000 calls with grace and dignity because they knew you weren't mad at them, you were mad at ERCOT. But if it was the right thing to do, why did they all quit? 9 ERCOT directors quit within the week, and all 3 public utility commissioners quit within the month. Once they had testified before the legislature, they cut bait and they ran. My granddad used to tell me, the tough get going when the going gets tough. They couldn't stand the heat that they created, and I think that's wrong. We will have to pay it. We don't know yet what those charges are because we have not been invoiced from Rayburn, and Rayburn has not finished settling with ERCOT. I will tell you, this is July the 19th. I ought to know that date pretty well. We quit load shedding on February the 19th. And you can ask the employees, that's all I've done for 5 months, is deal with ERCOT. I know more about Texas legislature today than I've learned in my first 53 years on this planet. And I don't like any of it, to be real honest. They have passed some laws. I will tell you, we don't know what they are. We don't know what they mean yet. The rules have to be written. ERCOT is getting totally wiped clean for a second time. They quit once, they replaced them. That group goes away and they get reappointed. The PUC commissioners have all gone. 3 have been appointed. The legislature said 3 didn't know what they were doing. Let's have 5 of them make this decision. So we've got to nominate 2 more. We don't yet know what any of it means. But I have made a pledge, and I am doing my level best. I did it on Channel 12, KXII, that got broadcast in the Houston area. Because I'm the only one that said it so far. We will not let the incompetence of others negatively affect the members of Grayson-Collin Electric. We are going to have to pay for that power. Remember, we were 95% covered. But because of the forecast and demand, the weather forecast was a little off. We used twice as much as any normal day in February. And we did that for 4 days. So, don't know yet what they are, but I can tell you, I will not rest till I know those and know that it won't affect. I'm a member just like you are. I want to know it's not going to hurt us because they were illegal and I call it capricious interference with the free market. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if that's right. So with that, I want to draw it to a close and ask if there are any questions. Where's my mic runners? Okay. I can handle this one.
She's on the front row. All right. She's way down here.
So I agree that the people in Austin are totally incompetent. Energy Holdings made over $4 billion in profit from the freeze in February. And after the legislature was closed for this year, Warren gave Governor Abbott $1 million donation to get reelected. To do this kind of stuff to the people of Texas again, we need to find better people to govern this state. And I appreciate you guys trying to make sure we don't get screwed over by their incompetence.
And I will tell you, that is right now my number one mission. I got to back up, don't I? I'm wired, so I got to back up. That is my number one mission after making sure every employee goes home to their family. Safety first. Finances second. That is my number one mission. And I will not rest till it happens. Be patient. The question was, what can we do to help? Be patient with us. My understanding is this will not be settled for 3 to 6 months. All of the ERCOT mess and it'll have, some of it have to be financed long term. We think we're in a position because of earlier decisions, you will not see a change in power supply cost at Grayson-Collin. But we will be paying for this, but it will be lumped into our laboring costs. But because of previous good decisions, we're going to be able to absorb it. That's based on what I know today. If I have to come back, I'll call a meeting and bring you all back. But right now, I think we're okay. We don't like it, and I'm going to be kicking and screaming every time we wire that money. But we kind of, once it's settled, we know we can handle it. Just be patient with us, because we won't know, I don't think, the rest of this year. I think there's a lot of details to get worked out with a lot of people, and I agree, the gas companies may announce lots of record profit in the first quarter that were unanticipated prior to Winter Storm Uri. Kind of makes me sick at my stomach knowing what we had to do to turn people off. I'll tell you, there's 2 or 3 of us that slept in the office, and I went home to shower a couple of times. Otherwise, we slept under a desk. We've got a little chase lamp. Now I know what it's for. Right, Eddie? Any other questions? Way over here, Matt. Do you have another one closer? Oh, right there? Give us just a second, sir. I got you spotted. You can sit down. All right.
Yes, with the warm weather that we are having now, I had seen not too long ago that they had asked us not to be using our appliances that drew a lot of electricity until later in the evening. One answer to that, a lady said she wasn't about to do that because she wondered why, number one, the lights in certain areas were never turned off, like billboards and stuff like that. So she wasn't about to be put out. So also my question is, in the hottest part of the summer, which we're coming towards, will we be having rolling blackouts also?
Okay, this and $1 will get you a drink at McDonald's. Are they still $1? I don't know. My opinion is I don't think they'll ever let it happen to that degree again. Now, I can't say that. We don't own any generation. But I don't think it'll ever happen. Matt, we're headed to a gentleman in blue overalls, white cap, and white beard. Okay, so I don't think it'll happen. I will tell you what ERCOT put out on June the 14th, 4 months after the February 14th incident, is not new. They issue those every summer, but people know what ERCOT means now. And so they don't trust them. And so I wouldn't worry about it. We actually advise, it was one of my first jobs, is to go around and advise on energy conservation. We have done it for years. They're just getting the publicity this year because of what happened in February. So I'm going to tell you, I slept every night. I'm not going to lose sleep over ERCOT right now. I think we're okay. I've not had an annual meeting in July in the 80s. So, but even if it gets warm, I think we're okay. Part of what exacerbated that was a fire at the nuclear plant in Glenrose, which is 10% of the state's power. And they had to shut it down for a while, so it made it worse. But going into the summer, we had very few outages on maintenance for power plants. They wait and do that closer to October. I think we're okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you kind of touched on what I was going to talk about, but I've lived in Texas for 32 years, and we've had a lot hotter summers than this one. But on the news, they're telling us to keep our thermostats at 78, and I've never been told anything like that before. Can you kind of elaborate on why they're wanting us to keep our thermostats at 78?
And I'm going to tell you where that comes from. It comes from the Carter administration and the second oil embargo. And if you'll remember, in about 78 or 79, Jimmy Carter came on TV in a sweater and told everybody to set their heaters at 68 and their air conditioners at 78. Since then, and I don't know the official name of the American Association of Air Conditioners, but something like that, has designed air conditioners to run most efficiently at 78 degrees. That is something that we have actually done for my entire career, that's the number. When I worked at a co-op 25 years ago, South College Station, when I was still in college down there, their engineering department put out a few brochures, and I would go by on campus and get them. And for every degree you lower that thermostat below 78, costs you 8 to 10% additional air conditioner cost. And most people don't see it because you've got the rest of your house kind of down, you're not cooking, and you're washing clothes later in the day. But 78's actually been there for about 40 years.
Is there an ideal time to use electricity in a 24-hour period?
Yes. Actually, on our system, 2 o'clock in the morning is not good. We've got enough electric cars that we actually have a mini peak at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, anytime after 8 to before 6 a.m., that's kind of off peak. Some will say 10 to 6. We buy power in blocks. We call them 7 by 16 or 7 by 24. That's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, or 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And those 16 hours a day end around 10 o'clock. So anytime after that. Now, our cost per kilowatt hour is the same as it's been since 2015, 9.7 cents. And has not changed before that since 2010, when it was 10 and a quarter. So the only change we've had in almost, well, a dozen years is a decrease. So ours are, unless you choose, we do have some optional rates that you can use for time of use. Off-peak is one price, on-peak is another. It all works out to be revenue neutral for the co-op, close to the 9.7. One thing I forgot to mention, your board voted, this is off the subject, to return $4 million in capital credits regardless of what's going on with ERCOT. We will return all of 1995 and a portion of 2020. Look for those in the 1st of December. And with that $4 million, that amounts to between 1/4 and 0.5% per kilowatt hour reduction. So applaud them because they got faith that we're going to handle this ERCOT mess. Any others? Oh, way down here, man. Front row. Oh, we got another one? Hang on, Miss Massey. We might have two.
On a little more positive note, speak to the solar generation that's going on, how the solar farm that's out there in Collinsville.
And I'm going to be hard pressed to tell you anything because they chose not to connect to our line. And because that industry of generation is so competitive, if they're not connecting to you, they don't tell you anything. That's connected to an Encore old TP and L transmission line. So I don't know that much about it. I will tell you solar right now is booming. And while it may not be everybody's favorite because it's not working right now, it's dark. It is some of the cheapest power we're able to buy it right on a long-term contract is from solar. But I don't know about that specific field, but I am aware of it. They get it? Down here.
Sir, my name's Sherry. I just want to say thank you for all you've done for our county, city, all of us. But I want to tell you, at my house, I turn off the breakers to my dryer and my washing machine after I use them, and they're in the garage. I turn off, after I use my microwave, I unplug it. After I'm telling you some things, and I go through my house where I leave it, and any light or anything I don't need, and I turn off, and I keep my TV on only when I'm watching it, and when I'm not watching it, I unplug it. I just wanted you to know, and another thing, your ice maker costs more money because you use it, to use it that way. And anything that heats or cools costs more, and if you keep that in mind, you will save money on your electric bill.
You just preached what I've been doing for 35 years, but you are correct. I have not gone so far as to unplug appliances. I don't want to wait for the channels to reset. But I think we have one down the line here.
Yes, sir. Judy Norton. I have a question about why do you have the meetings outside? I came from co-op down at Cedar Creek Lake, and for 8 years that I was there, the meetings were always indoors in like an auditorium. So it didn't matter what the weather was, especially in the middle of July. And so everybody was easily able to hear everyone in the meeting. And so I was just wondering why the meetings are outdoors when everything could be contained in an auditorium, like a basketball auditorium or such.
Oh, okay.
A civic
Short,
center.
short answer, it's tradition.
I heard the tradition thing.
Yeah. Long answer. Long answer is we do not have a facility outside of maybe the Allen Event Center on Stacy Road that will accommodate our normal crowd of 2,000 people. There's just not one in Grayson County, and there's not one in the northern part of Collin County. And for 84 years, it's tried to be center of the service area to give everybody the same opportunity to come. And there's just not an indoor facility big enough. We had it 7-8 years ago in the gym because it rained. It was the most attended meeting and the most complained about because the gym only holds 800 seats and we had over 2,000 seats to put in those 800 seats. And so we choose to, and you can blame it on me, I made the call at 3 o'clock that we're going to have it outside no matter what. And we did. And so until somebody builds something big enough for us, I don't see another option though.
Okay, so somebody's going to build something big enough now.
Bring it on. Put it on the co-op line and we'll meter it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any others? We got Matt right up here behind the gentleman that was in the cover. I was in maroon shirt, tan shorts. Yeah. And Matt may need a break. If we got anybody else that wants to relieve him. Up two more. No, we got another one in front of you? Okay. We'll get you. Okay. Don't forget him.
Thank you. You mentioned that solar is among the cheapest power that you can buy. But at this point in time, the way to handle solar from houses that are actually generating themselves is, in essence, you can zero your bill out to the $23 a month, but anything you build in excess of that doesn't actually pay anything back. And I don't mind that, but the negative of that approach, in essence, is that people aren't incentivized to over-generate electricity. There are sections, as an example, I've got a coworker, I think it's in the Houston area, that's getting about $600 a month off of solar arrays that he built. If you're really getting inexpensive power off of solar, I would advocate to take a serious look at if you could allow those to be able to pay out beyond the $0 amount as we're at this point in time, so it could actually generate additional electricity for you if it's actually less expensive.
Okay, we made that change 2 years ago.
Totally missed that.
And so now,
Please.
we do net metering. For every kilowatt hour you produce, we roll your meter back 1 kilowatt hour.
Understood. What I'm talking about, because I'm a current solar customer right now,
Okay.
and we generate more electricity than we use, so we still get the $23 a month bill, okay, and then that accrues over time. So if instead you did a cash out on a yearly basis for the over generation, that would incentivize people to build larger solar arrays, wind arrays, and the rest, get you more cheap power.
Okay, yeah, I follow you now. We do not, you get to bank it and you get to accrue it. We are giving you 9.7 cents per kilowatt hour. The unavoided cost of generation is about 3 cents. So in order to make that change, you would have to pay 9.7 for everything you bought from the co-op grid, and we would pay 3 cents for every kilowatt hour generated. And we can do that, but when we surveyed our 300 to 400 distributed generation members, they voted not to do that.
Understood.
Yeah. But yeah, the avoided cost of generation is about 3 cents. The other 6 cents is for delivery on the transmission line or delivery in operations here. And so you wouldn't get credit for that because you don't have those costs. We pick you up at the meter. So it'd be about 3 cents and it would be the avoided cost is what we call it. Be glad to visit any time, one-on-one. But when we surveyed our members, they said, keep it like it was. Before 2 years ago, when it went to zero, you donated them to the rest of the members. Okay, do we have one here? All right.
All right, so this one's pretty simple. With COVID changing, our work environment's changed. We now have an influx of people working from home in our neighborhoods. What fail-safes do we have in place moving forward so we can help keep those employees employed with electric power?
You know, short of weather, I'm gonna tell you, 70% of the outages have three causes, maybe 80%. Weather, small animals, and vegetation. We spend $4 million a year cutting trees. So we eliminate that. We also put an awful lot of effort into what we call bird guards or squirrel guards to keep those off. Weather we'll never be able to control. I've tried and it just doesn't work. I tried today, believe me. When it was raining at 5:15, I was wondering if I needed to be replaced as manager there for a minute. But if I were working from home, I would have a personal uninterruptible power supply on anything that was mission critical. And so that's just my advice. We have them, we do not have a generator at the co-op building, but we have UPSs on all mission critical servers. And on our dispatch, they all have a UPS. We've got about 20 minutes to figure out what to do if the power goes out. So that's always my recommendation. I don't have interruptible power supply, but I've got a pretty good surge protector on my TV at home. Because my house got hit by lightning in August and in December. If they tell you lightning doesn't strike the same place twice, that's not true. Anybody else? That's it. All right, thank y'all. I'm going to turn this meeting over to Mr. Rice to adjourn. Or you want me to do it? Okay, he's going to do it.
Thank you. Does anybody here believe that our manager is uninformed and undedicated? He is that. He is that. And he's, for your and my purposes, he is very disgruntled about how the powers that be have let things go and treated us like a stray dog. Anyhow, you have heard the report of the manager. I would, if there are no questions, I would entertain a voice to approve the reading of the annual report. You got it? Okay, how about a second? You got a second? All in favor, please? No. All that are opposed to that, please say no and sit down. It's now time for us to adjourn this annual meeting. Are there any other questions, any issues that ought to be brought up? I think you're done. Okay. Okay, make it. Second. All in favor of adjourning this annual meeting of the... I didn't finish, but you got it? You got it.
Okay, once again, thank y'all. Glad to have you. Be bigger and better next year. I'm pretty sure if the trend continues, we'll go back to doing some brisket. And so, as tradition holds, if you're under the age of 13 and you want to help Tracy give out door prizes, come through the gate and get down here. She may have something in her pocket for every person that draws. We'll give them just a few minutes. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy and Bruce, and they will get you some door prizes. I need my mic back. You got it. Good. Never mind.